This next session is about getting your arms around your data so it actually works for you. Our panelists are going to share how you can use it to make smarter decisions and get real value out of AI. So please give a warm welcome to our speakers, Jackie Stanton at F2 Strategy, Russ DiArgento at Fintrix, and Judd McCrill at MileMarker.
All right, welcome everybody to a session on data. I'm Jackie Stanton with F2 Strategy. Before we dive into data, I have a totally unrelated question. I want to know how many hot coffee drinkers we have in the crowd and how many prefer cold coffee. And I promise I'll link this back to our topic. So by raise of hand, who prefers hot coffee in the audience? All right, hands down. Who prefers cold or iced coffee? Last question. Does anybody prefer lukewarm coffee? What? You're my anomaly. I appreciate you. Well, I don't like lukewarm coffee, and I actually think it's brewed unoptimally. And so I have a theory that most things that are done in life unoptimally kind of end up bad. You can't study for a CFA, lukewarm. You can't approach your marriage, lukewarm. You can't train for a triathlon, lukewarm. And yet, most of us in the audience approach data in a very lukewarm fashion. So what we want to do together on stage is debunk some of the things that hold us back from data and give some real life use cases as to why we need to be investing now. And so I'm going to welcome my guests, Russ and Judd, on the stage. Russ, if you can go first. Who are you? What's your firm about? Just get the crowd up to speed.
Awesome. My name's Russ DiArgento. I'm the founder and CEO of Fintrix. We're the leading provider of private wealth data intelligence. So we provide data on investment advisors, broker-dealers, wirehouses, family offices, wealth teams. And we provide that via our AI-powered platform, which we'll talk a little bit about today, as well as into CRM systems. Essentially, our firm's job is to help financial firms grow, and that takes many shapes or forms. Might be advisor M&A for inorganic growth, recruiting, distributing financial products and services, and we empower our clients to do so with the data intelligence that we provide for them. So,
thank you. Judd, who are you and what's MileMarker all about?
All right, I'm Judd McCrill. I'm a co-founder and CEO at MileMarker. MileMarker helps you own your data so you can control your destiny. And what that means essentially is that you can have all your data in one place so you can report on anything and from there take action on anything. So it gives you the ability to take complicated data infrastructure, a lot of things that might take a lot of time and a lot of people and a lot of pain in your organization, and we simplify that for you through one agreement, one partner that has deep roots in all the different wealth techs, and as well as your business systems and custodial systems to bring that data forward for you.
Cool, thank you guys. All right, we're gonna just start off with some lightning round questions, quick hits, and then we're gonna dive into some deeper topics. Russ, I'll start with you, Judd, then you. The one word I would use to describe the current state of data inside of wealth management is?
evolving.
Confused.
The biggest reason everybody in the crowd should care about data is?
It's the oil that makes your businesses operate efficiently.
It's actually what you work in, but often the cobbler's kids have no shoes.
I like that. The biggest headwind facing firms that haven't paid attention or structured their data?
Potential compliance risk, disorganization, and the fear of the unknown.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. The biggest headwind facing firms that haven't invested in or structured their data is?
Yeah, I think it's time and prioritization. It's just kind of the general, tyranny of the urgent you guys are dealing with all the time.
All right. So last question for you guys. What's the top reason that's holding people back from investing in data from your conversation? Like one word or one sentence.
The unknown of what it looks like to rely on data over intuition in their decision making.
Judd?
I think the one thing that's holding people back from making a move on their data is just an uncertainty of what that really means for you. Like, how do you tangibly realize an ROI on that, and the lack of clarity for it.
Cool. So let's go down that path a little bit, because I think there's fear embedded in that, fear of the unknown, and a lot of excitement around data. How do you resolve and overcome that? And Judd, I'll start with you. When you're working with firms who haven't quite invested, trying to make the business case, how do you overcome that conversation and set a firm up for success?
Yeah, I think you have to start with this simple problem to solve? What's priority number one? If I could automate any insight that might be complicated for me, how do I nail that and get to that point and communicate to somebody like a partner like a mile marker to do that? And then start from there and move forward and continue to make progress and just chip away at it. But get those wins early and move ahead because it's transformative.
Now, Russ, you experience fear and hesitation in some of your conversations too. Why, and then how do you help resolve that, or what's your coaching to firms?
Yeah, certainly, and I agree with Judd. What we see is, firms that are trying to do too much. They feel this external pressure. Everyone's talking about data and AI, and they're trying to boil the ocean, and that's very difficult to do, especially in a new world like this, where there's pressure on them to do that. So quick wins is a key one, and also making sure you have the people and the personnel around you, which we'll talk about, but that know how to do it and have the nuance and the understanding of our industry.
Can you give one example, and Judd, the same thing for you, of a quick win? What should people be thinking about when we use the term quick win?
Labeling their data, make sure that it's the architecture of it is sound, and that it's able to be understood by AI, which is really a key piece of it. You can have the best data in the world. You don't want to have data just for the purpose of having it. It has to be digestible and able to be understood by the LLMs, and I think mile marker is a great example of that.
For most of our clients, it's understanding really basic things like what's my actual AUM, because it's very different than often what your systems are showing, or what's my profitability of my business, like how profitable am I based on the data reflective of the customer model I have.
I'd say the AUM reporting is a big one. It's not consistent and always accurate. It's a common quick fix when you're building something. I have a question around, we have a bunch of different size firms here and different types of firms. The bigger firms we see build their own data, right? They have the pockets and the talent to kind of build a data warehouse. And some firms are paralyzed. Do I build it? Do I rent it? Do I buy it? Judd, I'm gonna point this question at you, but how do firms based on size think about solving the data conundrum?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a different appetite based on the ambition or sometimes the tyranny you're dealing with in managing all this. So sometimes you have a budget to hire people. Then the challenge is how well do those people actually understand your technology? How well do they understand your advisors or your clients and what that means? And it creates a lot of difficulty. Often we see a lot of people fail at this effort and come back to us and say, hey, all right, we're ready to have a partner that really knows this. But there's a lot of challenges, I think, that with that. And then I think starting small and just understanding hey, at a basic level, this is what business intelligence looks like for us. But we realize now we have to cascade that out to somebody. And I can't just be giving Power BI licenses to my advisors in the field. It doesn't make any sense. How do I start to do that? So I think getting conversant, understanding your appetite and understanding how much this can transform the way you work really helps you set a proper course so you can feel that sense of winning all the way through.
Here's what I'd say to that. I think outsourcing, unless data is your underlying product and your core competency, is the right way to do that. It's complex, it's messy, and it's typically not the core competency of most in this room, and it doesn't give you a ton of leverage to spend your time trying to do all of that internally. When there's resources, there's companies that can get you to market quicker, control costs, and so we all have our areas of expertise, and data is one of those that you really want to be mindful and thoughtful about how you handle it, because it is really vital. It's always been important, but as of today and 6 months out and 2 years out, it is absolutely critical that your data architecture and the cleanliness of that data is in a good shape.
Yeah, it's the foundation to AI. I want to provide the audience with some real use cases, and so do you guys mind just taking the opportunity to outline a client that you've worked with recently? Who are they? General size? What was the problem statement they had when they came to you? And then results. So you implemented something. What did it actually deliver to the firm? Russ, I'll have you go first.
Sure. So we work with financial firms of many types: asset managers, aggregators, RIA firms, etc. So we recently brought on essentially the largest aggregator in the space. And we took and did a data exercise with them where we helped them kind of go back through all of their previous acquisitions, what they looked like, what the flavor of those acquisitions were. And then the second leg of that exercise was to use data to paint a picture of what good looks like moving forward for them, what the AUM range was for their sweet spot, how comfortable or uncomfortable were they with regulatory disclosures, growth rates, things of this nature. And we ingested all that data for them, and then in our platform, they can build essentially an AI score that says, hey, here's who's a good fit, here's not a good fit. And then the second layer is we tell them why, right? So here's a handful of things that really align very nicely with what you're looking for. And here's a few things that are maybe not such a good fit that you should keep an eye on, double click on in your diligence. So that has been an area that we have spent a lot of time, which is not just using all of the data intelligence that we have at our disposal and the corpus of data that we cover in the wealth channel, but ingesting first-party data from the end user and making sure that they're getting a very customized output to the questions, problems, and business use cases that they're trying to solve for.
That's great. And that same thing can be applied to asset management firms, broker-dealers, wirehouses. That problem statement carries through. I love that. Judd, do you have a RIA-specific or family office-specific example you can share?
Yeah, we've got an RIA that has a good number of representatives that will be IARs affiliated with them. And they came to us with the challenge of using Orion and Salesforce and a few other things to try to unify the way those advisors work. We were able to bring that data together into a singular experience, an application that's on their brand, and give a very simplified way for all those advisors to allocate. When they started, we were a little over $1 billion. Now they're nearing $10 billion. We now have unified, simplified trading execution. We have new account opening. We have all their core workflows. And it's very simple because, simple scales, fancy fails. And fancy, unfortunately, is like using Salesforce and all these things to do these things. For people that are ultimately very relationship driven, they're not going to be nerding out in this stuff. And if they are, they probably aren't as successful as the others. So helping everybody lean in their strengths and helping the organization scale and simplify with a foundation of data is transformational. We get to see that a lot, and it's really, really fun for us.
One quick question on that example. So you go from 1 to 10. A lot of complexity comes with that growth. You generally need more people. How do firms think about their organizational structure to support this data investment? Like, who should firms be thinking about hiring? When? What's the sequencing of this?
Yeah, I think it's a different structure because now you're thinking about it less from like pure administrative back office work to people that are a little more tech forward because they're ultimately coming at it from the lens of like, how do I take this problem and simplify it through this layer that MileMarker provides? And so it's a different type of person. It's often somebody that's like a totally digitally native person. But that's where we're seeing a lot of transformation and change in terms of like how we're hiring, who we're hiring, and how those firms are scaling. And then it's also allowing you to bring in deeper specialists to build out things like professional services, like advanced planning, tax, and estate teams that are now digitally integrated into that experience as well. So those services become scalable, become more accretive for the firm. You can drive deeper value, and effectively, I think most of the RAs out here want to do more family office-esque services, and this is allowing that sort of thing to scale in a really, really wonderful way.
Yeah, it definitely helps you push up market. Do you want to add anything to that question? Like organizational structure, what do you think are the foundations that firms need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I would say, since this is all nascent to all of us, looping in, the front of the house and the advisors and those that are actually out there trying to solve real world problems and not just the data professionals that you're hiring, to ensure that, there are some quick wins there to get, and that the real business use cases, even if they're small to begin with, are the ones that are being worked on first, rather than trying to, do everything at once. And yeah, the second thing I would say is a pure tech or data analyst type person is great. It's an awesome start, but whenever possible, I do think it's important to find folks that do understand the nuance of our world, which there is plenty, to make that effort more fruitful. It's super important in our business, and I would assume to yours as well.
I'm going to take one riff off of that, though. I have seen some firms start up what they might call an AI or a data lab, where they are bringing in younger individuals that happen to think differently than us to solve AI challenges. Something we think is super cool and fancy, a 22-year-old thinks is super lame and outdated. Summer internships are a great way to do this. AI labs, be creative. One of my friends likes to say AI is no longer a side hustle, so staff accordingly. We're gonna save a little bit of time for Q&A, but I have some curiosity questions for you guys. So as you think through data and AI, I'm just curious, is it possible that data and AI could displace and replace CRMs down the road?
Yeah, I think that's happening for sure. We're seeing that's changing. Like, how many of you with raise a hand would say that's changing? Using Zox, Jump, others, it's changing how you value your CRM. Right, it's definitely doing it. So I think that's giving us just a different posture as we approach all of it.
I think it will. The experience of which you interact with those CRMs is certainly evolving and will change. I think there's more of an intelligence layer, more of a give and take, where you're almost talking and interacting with the CRM. However, I'm of the belief that the underlying CRM will prevail for reasons like single source of truth, compliance, pipeline management, things of that nature. So we'll look and feel a little bit different, but I'm not of the belief that there's a magic wand and the single source of truth, single source of data and compliance goes away.
Cool. So we've got some questions that popped up on the screen above us, and we can see them, but I'm going to start with the first one, you guys. I think sometimes we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. This first question is, what data points do most RIAs want that are not readily available to them, that they may know today or not know, that are kind of critical to the future going forward? And so, Judd, how would you answer this question?
It's really around like cost, and it's like the basic metrics of like cost acquisition, lifetime value of a customer. It's this data, you have it, but you don't, because it's living in all these different places. It's probably in somebody's special spreadsheet that they have to like spend 10 hours in a quarter. It's not in a way that's like progressively transforming your firm. It's more of like an afterthought, and that's really one of the fundamental things we see people able to solve through what we do.
Have you unearthed anything unique in terms of data points that your firms are like, holy, I didn't even think to ask for that data point through your AI engine, Russ?
Yeah, there's a number of them, certainly on the individual layer, background, interests, networking opportunities, introduction opportunities to be had. And I also think, certainly on the acquisition, kind of inorganic growth, M&A side, where there's PE ownership on the cap table and where there's not is a big one that we hear a lot, and trying to uncover that. For some firms, that's a green light. For others, it's not. So there's nuance there, but there's a long list.
Cool. Yeah. And then for everything we talked about, is data, should data be a focus for everybody, regardless if you're 100 million, 500 million, 5 billion, or is there a breaking point for people of a certain size? Just don't worry about it now, get your house in order, and then think about it later? Or how do you actually think about the time to invest in data? Either one of you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you see yourself as a business owner, operator, and you want to have a more valuable business, you need to be taking control of your data. It's an asset for you, and it can massively impact you in the event of a transaction, or just in how you run your business to be a more successful, more efficient firm. It's imperative, and we see it every day. It's really, really transformational.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I mean, a lot of business owners here, I'm sure, two ways to make decisions, right? Data driven and instincts. You don't have the data, you're flying the plane with half the knobs. So that's what I would say there.
Yeah, and I'll wrap with, data is the foundation for AI. You know that data is the foundation for dashboards and clarity, and it's also a requirement to be truly personalized with your experience for advisors and clients. And so I think data is now for us all. That's it, you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.